President Donald Trump said he instructed his administration to temporarily halt funding to the World Health Organization for taking China's claims about the coronavirus at face value and failing to share information about the pandemic as it spread. The WHO failed in its basic duty and must be held accountable, Trump said Tuesday at a White House press conference. The outbreak could have been contained at its source if the organization had correctly responded early on, he added. It's unclear when any halt in payments would take effect or how much authority Trump has to suspend disbursements, which are authorized by Congress. The U.S. has contributed $893 million to the WHO's operations during its current two-year funding cycle, according to the organization. Administration officials signaled the suspension would be for 60 days. In a statement Tuesday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the chance to investigate how the disease spread around the world would come later. As it is not that time, it also not the time to reduce the resources for the operations of the World Health Organization or any other humanitarian organization in the fight against the virus, he said. As I have said before, now is the time for unity and for the international community to work together in solidarity to stop this virus and its shattering consequences. WHO Member FundingU pays top proportion of member dues to the WHOSource, WHONote, member state dues for 2020-21. Dues make up less than a quarter of WHO funding. The move to limit support to the WHO in the midst of a global pandemic is unprecedented. Yet as domestic criticism of the Trump administration's response has increased and the U.S. became the epicenter of the outbreak, many of the president's supporters have pointed to the WHO for making early mistakes they say undermined the U.S. and worsened the crisis. Read more. As pandemic looms, world's top disease fighter engages XiThe. WHO has been a conduit for tension between the US and China for months, with WHO Secretary General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus being singled out for blame by allies of the president for being too deferential to Beijing. The organization hasn't yet responded to Trump's comments. The WHO operates on a two-year budget that is funded through a mix of member dues and voluntary contributions from member countries and non-profit organizations. In the past, more than three-quarters of the funding has come from voluntary contributions. WHO's most recent budget for the 2020-21 period was approved last May, and laid out a budget of $5.8 billion, of which 16.4% came from member dues. Disastrous Decision'Member dues are based on a country's wealth and population. For the most recent budgeting period, the U.S. made up nearly a quarter of member funding, followed by China, Japan and Germany. In past years, the U.S. has also been one of the biggest contributors of voluntary funds. Early on after the news of the virus broke, the U.S.